I rise in strong support this morning of the Clarity Act. We've been here before, Mr. Speaker. Just last year, we passed landmark legislation, Fit 21, with an overwhelming bipartisan majority to apply strong federal standards to digital asset markets. For more than 5 years, our committee has heard from dozens and dozens of experts, held numerous roundtables and hearings with market participants of all sizes in all segments of the market to learn more about the emerging digital asset ecosystem. We learned about the value proposition and relevant risks associated with digital assets and the use of blockchain technology. We've heard time and time again from market participants and regulators about the need for clear regulatory guardrails. We've talked about the need to fill those regulatory gaps that have left millions participating in crypto markets vulnerable. In fact, Mr. Speaker, both President Biden in his Executive Order 14067 and President Trump in his Executive Order 14178 identified those market regulatory gaps, asking Congress to act to fill those gaps. And we certainly witnessed in 2022 consumer harm when the Financial Services Committee heard unprecedented testimony from an expert called in to clean up the failed digital asset crypto firm FTX and the mess it left behind. In his words, never had he seen such an utter failure in corporate controls. In its wake, then Chairwoman Waters wisely stated, "We need legislative action to ensure that digital assets entities cannot operate in the shadows outside of robust federal oversight and clear rules of the road." If we needed action then, we certainly need it now, and we risk history repeating itself, and that's why we gather today on the House floor. After years of bipartisan work, numerous iterations, this bill would apply rigorous rules to digital asset firms, prohibiting commingling of customer funds and requiring capital, record-keeping, and conflict of interest mitigation standards. Importantly, the bill recognizes that decentralized finance, or DeFi developers, do not take custody of user assets, nor do they control user assets. Therefore, we should not treat them in the same way that we treat centralized actors who do have custody, who do have control over assets. It's important to note that in an Agriculture Committee hearing, the former General Counsel of FTX USA himself testified, quote, "Had we the regulatory structure provided for in Clarity applied to FTX, close quote, the story would," and he goes on to say, "would be almost certainly have been a much different ending." Let's ensure that we learn from the past, Mr. Speaker. The digital asset ecosystem is evolving at a remarkable pace, enabling real-time settlement of peer-to-peer transactions, initiating a renaissance in applied cryptography, laying the groundwork for the next generation of the use of the internet. The United States has long had the most innovative financial and technology sectors and the deepest, most liquid capital markets. But while other jurisdictions are building frameworks for the future of finance to be on-chain and digitally native, our great country, with those great characteristics, is lagging. For too long, our digital asset regime has been the worst of both worlds. Regulation by enforcement, which has pushed good actors to leave the United States, and the regulatory gaps that I talked about identified in both President Biden and President Trump's executive orders that have left consumers unprotected from the bad actors. Now, today, we have an opportunity to reverse course and establish the United States as the global hub for digital innovation. To do so, we must close the regulatory gaps with common sense rules. The Clarity Act does just that. By leveraging the expertise of our two market regulators, the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Commodity Future Trading Commission, to ensure wrap-around oversight of digital asset markets from initial sales, raising capital, to daily trading, it provides clarity for banks also engaging in this ecosystem. And as we said in the last Congress, Mr. Speaker, these rules need to be fit for purpose for the digital ecosystem. Now, all of us on this House floor know that the status quo is simply unacceptable. We all know American consumers and innovators deserve this clarity, deserve better, deserve rules of the road. The choice before us is whether to lead in the financial markets of the future or watch the next FTX fail while we're left saying, once again, well, we've been here before. I urge all my colleagues to join me on both sides of the aisle and support the Clarity Act. Let's fill these regulatory gaps with the proper federal oversight. Let's create a competitive digital ecosystem. I support this bill. I urge my colleagues to, and I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from California is recognized.